The whispers started as they always did, in the shadowed corridors of the Galactic Council chambers, passed from one diplomatic aide to another, until they reached the highest levels of interstellar governance. Rumors of a biological weapon so perfectly evolved that it could track prey across the harshest terrain, detect microscopic chemical traces from kilometers away, and crush bone with a single bite. Most disturbing of all, humans kept these lethal organisms as companions, even allowing them to sleep in their dwellings. Commissioner Thorka of the Kravix hegemony stared at the classified reports scrolling across his terminal. His elongated fingers, each tipped with a chitinous claw, tapped impatiently against the metallic surface of his command chair. Behind him, the bridge of the warship Inevitable Justice hummed with activity as his crew maintained their surveillance orbit around Earth. 2. The newest human colony in the Orion Spur. Are we certain of this intelligence? Thorka asked, his four eyes narrowing as he addressed his science officer. Science Director Merrill, a slender Zerani with iridescent scales that shimmered under the ship's lighting, approached with characteristic grace. We have intercepted numerous communications mentioning these creatures. The humans refer to them scientifically as Canis lupus familiaris, though they commonly use the designation dog. Dogs, Thorka repeated, the alien word awkward on his mandibles. And you believe these are the biological weapons mentioned in the reports? The evidence suggests so, Commissioner. Our surveillance has detected these quadrupedal organisms accompanying human military personnel at multiple outposts. They appear to serve some function beyond mere companionship. Thorka scrolled through images captured by Kravix intelligence operatives. Furry creatures of various sizes and configurations, some with pointed ears and elongated snouts, others with massive jaws and muscular bodies. In one recording, a human soldier and one such beast moved in perfect synchronization through a training course, the animal launching itself at a target with frightening precision. Most concerning, Merrill continued, is that these creatures possess sensory capabilities far beyond those of humans themselves. Auditory detection ranges 10 times greater, olfactory sensitivities thousands of times more acute, and reaction speeds that our combat analysts find troubling. Thorka rose from his command chair, his imposing 3-meter frame casting a shadow across the bridge. The Council must be informed immediately. If humans are developing biological weapons for military application, it represents a violation of at least 3 interstellar conventions. There is something else, Merrill said, hesitation evident in her melodic voice. These dogs are not merely tools. The humans appear to form emotional attachments to them. Emotional attachments? To weapons. Thorka's mandibles clicked in disapproval. Typical human irrationality. They've only been part of the galactic community for 40 years, and already they challenge our most fundamental security protocols. Thorka turned to his communications officer. Contact the Council. Inform them that I recommend increased surveillance of all human outposts. These dogs must be properly classified and cataloged as potential bioweapons. As the communications officer complied, another Kravix approached. Intelligence Commander Xerix, his exoskeleton scarred from previous conflicts with rebellious species. Commissioner, we've lost contact with observation post Epsilon 9, Xerix reported, his voice low. Their last transmission mentioned sighting several 4-legged creatures accompanying human mercenaries near the perimeter. Thorka's upper eyes widened, while his lower pair focused on the tactical display. Dispatch a reconnaissance team immediately. And Xerix, he paused, mandibles twitching. If possible, I want one of these dogs captured for study. We must understand what we're dealing with. As orders echoed across the bridge, the warship's engines pulsed with renewed energy, its weapon systems running silent diagnostics in preparation for potential conflict. Throughout the ship, crew members exchanged nervous glances. The stories of humanity's swift rise from a single planet to multiple colonies had already become legendary. Humans might be newcomers to the galactic stage, but their adaptability and unpredictability made them dangerous. And now, it seemed, they had allies even more dangerous than themselves. The council chambers on the neutral world of Harmonium buzzed with agitated discussion. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the massive amphitheater, their various environmental needs accommodated by specialized atmospheric fields and gravity adjusters. High Counselor Vrix of the Luxari Confederacy, a being composed primarily of crystalline structures that refracted light in hypnotic patterns, called the emergency session to order. We have received disturbing reports from Commissioner Thorka of the Kravix hegemony, Vrix announced, their voice resonating through crystalline harmonics. Humanity appears to be cultivating biological weapons in direct violation of the accords of peaceful coexistence. The human ambassador, Elara Washington, rose from her seat, her dark skin contrasting with the silver diplomatic uniform of Earth's United Coalition. These accusations are completely unfounded. If Commissioner Thorka has concerns, they should be addressed through proper diplomatic channels, not in an emergency council session. The evidence suggests immediate attention is warranted, countered the Satori delegate, a gelatinous entity whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent organs. An observation post has gone silent after reporting the presence of these dogs you keep as companions. Ambassador Washington shook her head. Dogs have been humanity's partners for over 15,000 years. They are domesticated animals, not weapons. This represents a profound misunderstanding of human culture. 15,000 years. The Zerani representative's scales flickered with alarm. You admit to this long-term bioengineering program. Not bioengineering, domestication, selective breeding. It's an entirely natural process, Washington explained, frustration evident in her voice. Dogs evolved alongside humans as mutual beneficiaries. They helped us hunt, protected our settlements, and in return, we provided them with food and shelter. The relationship is symbiotic, not militaristic. High Counselor Vrix's crystalline form shimmered skeptically. Yet these creatures possess combat capabilities that your own military utilizes. Some dogs are trained for specialized tasks. Yes, including security and search operations, Washington conceded. But they're not weapons. They're intelligent beings with whom we share our homes and lives. As the debate intensified, a decision was reached. A formal investigation would be launched. The Council would send observers to Earth, to assess the situation firsthand. Until then, enhanced monitoring protocols would be implemented around all human settlements. Ambassador Washington left the chambers, her expression grim as she contacted Earth's military command. The misunderstanding about humanity's oldest animal companions could quickly escalate into a diplomatic crisis, or worse. Meanwhile, on Earth, too, Gabriel Young was completely unaware of the interstellar controversy brewing around his four-legged companions. The former military dog handler had established a training facility on the colony's northern continent, where the temperate climate and varied terrain provided ideal conditions for working with the 50-odd dogs under his care. That morning, as mist rolled across the training yards, Gabriel put a Belgian Malinois named Rex through a series of agility exercises. The dog's powerful muscles rippled beneath his tan and black coat as he cleared obstacles with precision and speed that would impress even the most demanding military observer. "Good boy, Rex," Gabriel called, tossing a rubber training toy as reward. The Malinois caught it mid-air, his jaws closing with enough force to crush metal, though he handled the toy with surprising gentleness. Nearby, Elena Ruiz observed the training session with professional interest. As the colony's liaison officer, she was responsible for coordinating with frontline commanders and maintaining diplomatic relations with the various alien representatives who frequented Earth-2's growing spaceport. "He's looking sharp today," Elena commented, approaching the fence that encircled the training yard. Her uniform bore the insignia of Earth's United Coalition Diplomatic Corps, and her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun. Gabriel nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "Rex is one of our best. Search and rescue, personal protection, threat detection. He excels at everything." "That's good to hear," Elena said, her expression turning serious. Because we may need to showcase our canine program's peaceful application soon. The Galactic Council is sending observers. Gabriel whistled for Rex, who immediately abandoned his toy and trotted over. More politicians? What now? Did someone sneeze without filing the proper interspecies contamination paperwork? Elena didn't smile. This is serious, Gabe. There's been a misunderstanding about dogs. Some council species think they're weapons. Weapons. Gabriel laughed, scratching behind Rex's alert ears. The dog leaned into his touch, tail wagging contentedly. That's ridiculous. Sure, a military working dog can take down an assailant, but they're not weapons, they're partners. Try explaining that to a species that evolved from hive-minded insectoids, Elena replied. The Kraviks see dogs as biological weapons we've engineered for combat. Gabriel's expression darkened. That's not just wrong, it's insulting. Dogs have been part of human families since before we had written language. My grandfather's therapy dog helped him overcome PTSD. My sister's kids sleep with their golden retriever every night. Hell, Rex here sleeps on my bed. As if understanding his name in the conversation, Rex gave a soft woof and pressed against Gabriel's leg. I know that, Elena said. But the council doesn't. They've only seen military working dogs in action. And apparently, that's frightening enough that they're considering trade sanctions if they decide dogs constitute a bioweapon program. Gabriel let out a frustrated sigh. When do these observers arrive? Tomorrow. A delegation including Kraviks, Zorani, and Luxari representatives. Their official mission is assessment and classification of canine capabilities and status. So they're coming to judge whether my dogs are weapons or pets, Gabriel muttered. Great, just great. As they spoke, several new recruits, both human and alien, passed by the training yard. A young Meridian, whose species had only recently joined the coalition, stopped to watch Rex with evident fascination. The humanoid alien skin gave off a faint purple luminescence as he pointed toward the dog. Is it true humans sleep in proximity to these predators? The Meridian asked, his translator rendering his harmonics into English. Gabriel nodded. Most dog owners do. They're part of our families. The Meridian's luminescence flickered with what Elena recognized as alarm. But its bite force could crush exoskeletons. Its sensory capabilities exceed most security systems. How do you prevent it from attacking while you are vulnerable? Gabriel smiled, patting Rex's side. We don't need to. Dogs are loyal. Once they accept you as part of their pack, they'll protect you with their lives. The Meridian made a sound that needed no translation, pure disbelief, before continuing toward the base's main complex. See what we're up against? Elena said once the alien was out of earshot. To most species in the galaxy, keeping a predator in your home is like sleeping with a loaded plasma rifle under your pillow. Gabriel watched as Rex, alert and focused, his ears perked toward movement at the far end of the training yard where other handlers worked with their canine partners. Then we'll just have to show them they're wrong. Dogs aren't weapons. They're the best friends humanity ever made. The next day, the council delegation arrived with considerable fanfare. Their shuttle, bearing the neutral insignia of the Galactic Council, landed at Earth 2's main spaceport amid heightened security. Gabriel had selected a handful of his best-trained dogs to demonstrate their non-military capabilities, hoping to dispel the growing concerns. The delegation emerged from their vessel, a towering Kraviks official whose chitinous exoskeleton gleamed with official markings, a graceful Zorani whose scales shifted color with the changing light, and a crystalline Luxari whose form seemed to capture and refract the sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. Elena stepped forward as the official welcoming committee, with Gabriel standing slightly behind her, Rex sitting attentively at his side. On behalf of Earth's United Coalition, welcome to Earth 2, Elena said formally. I am Liaison Officer Elena Ruiz, and this is Gabriel Young, our Canine Program Director. The Kraviks representatives, four eyes focused on Rex, mandibles clicking in what Gabriel recognized as apprehension. I am Observer Kralvex of the Kraviks hegemony. We appreciate your cooperation in this assessment. The Zorani inclined her head gracefully. Science Director Merrill of the Zorani Conclave. I look forward to understanding these creatures from a scientific perspective. The Luxury's crystalline form shimmered as they spoke. Observer Prisma of the Luxari Confederacy. We seek harmony and understanding between all species. The formalities completed, Elena led the delegation toward a prepared demonstration area. As they walked, a commotion erupted nearby. A loading bot malfunctioned, sending a cargo container tumbling toward the group. Before anyone could react, Rex darted forward, positioning himself between the oncoming container and the delegation, barking loudly to alert everyone to the danger. The quick actions of nearby dock workers prevented disaster, but the incident left the delegation visibly shaken, particularly when they realized Rex had moved to protect them specifically. The creature anticipated the threat, Observer Kralvex noted, mandibles twitching. Gabriel nodded, calling Rex back to his side with a simple hand gesture. Dogs are naturally protective. Rex sensed the danger and responded to keep everyone safe. Meryl's scales rippled with scientific curiosity. Fascinating. A threat assessment capability that functions without technological augmentation. The demonstration proceeded as planned, with Gabriel showing how dogs assisted in non-military capacities, search and rescue scenarios, medical alert demonstrations, and assistance for individuals with disabilities. Throughout the presentation, the delegation's reactions shifted gradually from suspicion to cautious interest. Then came the moment Gabriel had been concerned about. As they moved to another section of the facility, Rex spotted a training ball that had been left out. With puppyish enthusiasm that belied his training, the Malinois bounded after it, racing directly toward Observer Kralvex. The Kralvex official reacted instinctively, reaching for the ceremonial weapon at his side. Gabriel's heart lurched. "Rex, halt!" he commanded sharply. The dog froze instantly, the ball forgotten as he turned his attention back to Gabriel, awaiting further instruction. Observer Kralvex's hand remained on his weapon, his four eyes fixed on the dog who now sat perfectly still just meters away. "How?" the Kralvex demanded. "Did you control it with mere vocalization?" Gabriel exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. "Training, trust, and partnership. Rex listens because he respects me, not because he fears me. I've never hurt him, never needed to. We work together." "Remarkable," Meryl murmured, her scales shifting to a deep blue of intellectual fascination. Such responsiveness to verbal commands alone. The tension dissolved gradually, but Gabriel noticed the Kralvex observer continued to watch Rex with a mixture of fear and calculating interest that made him deeply uncomfortable. Something in that alien gaze suggested the demonstration had not entirely achieved its intended purpose. As the delegation departed later that day, Elena joined Gabriel at the kennel area where he was settling the dogs for the evening. "Well, what do you think?" Gabriel asked as he filled Rex's water bowl. Elena leaned against the doorframe, her expression troubled. "Mixed results." The Zerani and Luxari seemed genuinely interested in understanding the human-canine relationship. But the Kralvex, she shook her head. "I don't think we changed his mind." "Great," Gabriel muttered. "So we still have a diplomatic incident brewing because some bugs think my dogs are secret weapons." "Not just any bugs," Elena corrected him. "The Kralvex control 3 major trade routes that our colony depends on. If they decide to implement sanctions." Gabriel didn't need her to finish the thought. Earth, too, was still establishing its infrastructure and relied heavily on interstellar commerce. Even temporary sanctions could be devastating. "So what now?" "Now we wait for their assessment," Elena said, "and hope they see reason." But reason, Gabriel would soon discover, was in short supply where fear took root. And in the darkness of space, fear was already motivating actions that would bring the misunderstanding to a dangerous new level. Aboard the Kralvex vessel orbiting Earth, too, Observer Kralvex reviewed the day's findings with his superior, Commissioner Thorka. "The humans claim these creatures are companions, not weapons," Kralvex reported. "They demonstrated various non-military applications." Thorka's mandibles clicked dismissively. "And you believe this deception? Humans are known for their duplicity. These dogs respond to verbal commands with military precision. They possess combat capabilities far beyond what a mere pet would require. The control mechanisms are impressive, Kralvex acknowledged. A simple vocalization immobilized the creature instantly. Precisely my concern, Thorka said, pacing the command deck. Imagine an infiltration force of humans, each accompanied by one of these biological weapons, programmed to attack on command. Thorka paused before the view screen showing Earth-2's peaceful surface. No, we cannot risk allowing this potential threat to spread throughout coalition space. Since the diplomatic approach has yielded insufficient results, we must gather more conclusive evidence. What do you propose, Commissioner? Thorka's upper eyes narrowed. Tonight, a specialized team will infiltrate the human facility. They will secure one of these dogs for proper scientific analysis. Once we understand its capabilities fully, the Council will have no choice but to classify them as the weapons they truly are. Kralvex hesitated. The humans will consider this a violation of territorial sovereignty. A necessary security measure, Thorka countered. Better to ask forgiveness than permission when the safety of the galaxy is at stake. As darkness fell over Earth-2's main settlement, a team of 6 Kralvex operatives deployed from a stealth shuttle. Their exoskeletons were enhanced with adaptive camouflage technology that bent light around them, rendering them nearly invisible to standard security systems. Each carried specialized, non-lethal weaponry designed to incapacitate without leaving evidence of intervention. Their target, the kennel facility where Gabriel Young housed his canine program. The team approached from downwind, aware from their briefing that the creatures possessed extraordinary olfactory capabilities. They moved with practiced precision, disabling perimeter sensors with targeted electromagnetic pulses that would register as routine power fluctuations. Approaching primary structure, the team leader sub-vocalized through their neural link. No movement detected. Proceed to extraction point. But as they neared the kennel building, an unexpected complication arose. Rather than finding the dogs confined inside as intelligence had suggested, several animals patrolled the grounds alongside human handlers. The Kralvex team froze, their camouflage technology excellent against electronic surveillance, but less effective against biological sensory systems. A large black and tan shepherd-type dog suddenly stopped its patrol route, head lifting as it tested the air. Its ears pivoted forward, and a low growl rumbled from its chest. "We've been detected," one operative warned. Switching to containment protocol. The dog's handler, a young woman, unholstered her sidearm. Security to command. Possible perimeter breach, North Quadrant. Thor has picked up something. The Kralvex team leader made a split-second decision. Neutralize the biological detector. Use sedative rounds only. Before the order could be fully executed, the dog, Thor, launched into action. With a speed that startled even the combat-hardened Kralvex operatives, the shepherd charged directly toward their position, barking fiercely. One operative fired a tranquilizer dart, striking the dog mid-stride. Thor stumbled, but continued forward, his powerful jaws snapping at the air where the camouflaged Kralvex stood. More handlers appeared, alarms blaring across the compound. In the confusion, 2 Kralvex managed to break away from the main group, darting toward the kennel building where they encountered less resistance. Inside, they located a smaller dog, a beagle, in a training area. One swift injection from sedative device, and the animal collapsed unconscious. Package secured, the operative reported, initiating extraction. Meanwhile, Gabriel awoke to klaxons and the compound's emergency lighting bathing his quarters in red. He grabbed his communications device, hearing Elena's voice broadcast facility-wide. Security breach in progress. All personnel to alert stations. Canine unit reporting contact with unknown intruders near the north perimeter. Gabriel was pulling on his boots when his personal communicator chimed. Young here. Gabriel, it's Elena. We have a situation. Thor detected something near the north fence. Handler reports possible cloaked intruders. I'm on my way, Gabriel responded, grabbing his jacket and rushing toward the door. "Where's Rex?" "Still in the special training kennel, as far as I know. I've dispatched a team there as well." But as Gabriel would soon discover, Rex was no longer in his kennel. By the time he reached the facility's security center, the situation had escalated dramatically. Security footage showed shadowy figures moving within human speed, their outlines only visible when they passed through the compound's water mist perimeter sensors. "Kravix," Elena confirmed grimly, studying the partial images. "Special operations, based on their movement patterns." Gabriel scanned the monitors with growing alarm. "Where's Rex? And Daisy?" They were both in the special training area. A security officer brought up the kennel cameras, revealing an empty training room with signs of disturbance. Equipment knocked over, a kennel door forced open. "They've taken them," Gabriel realized, anger building in his chest. "They've stolen my dogs." Elena was already on her communication device. "This is Liaison Officer Ruiz requesting immediate contact with the Galactic Council representative vessel. We have a diplomatic situation, unauthorized Kravix military action on coalition territory." No response came through official channels. The Kravix extraction team had already departed, their stealth shuttle breaking atmosphere before Earth-2's defense systems could properly track them. Gabriel slammed his fist against the monitoring station. "They can't do this. Those aren't just any dogs. They're sentient beings, partners. Rex has been with me for 5 years. Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll get them back, Gabe. This violation won't stand." But both knew the reality of interstellar politics made such promises difficult to keep. The Kravix would deny involvement, evidence would be declared inconclusive, and by the time diplomatic channels have been exhausted, whatever the Kravix plan for the captured dogs would likely be completed. "I'm not waiting for diplomats to exchange strongly worded messages," Gabriel said firmly. "I'm going after them." Elena stared at him. "That's insane. You're talking about pursuing a Kravix military vessel. I'm talking about rescuing my dogs before those chitinous bastards dissect them in some lab," Gabriel countered. "Are you with me or not?" Elena hesitated only briefly before nodding. "I know some people who can help. Off-the-books help." Within hours, they had assembled a small team, former military specialists who now work security contracts throughout the sector, a Meridian pilot whose species' natural affinity for spatial navigation made them exceptional at interstellar pursuit, and a Luxari technician who had defected years earlier and held no love for council politics. Their vessel, a modified courier ship with enhanced engines and minimal weaponry, departed Earth, too under the guise of a routine supply run to an outlying settlement. By the time anyone official noticed their unauthorized course change, they were already tracking the Kravix vessel's ion trail through the void. Meanwhile, aboard the Kravix research vessel Empirical Truth, the captured dogs had been placed in specialized containment units designed to neutralize any escape attempts. The Beagle, Daisy, remained sedated, her small form monitored by an array of biological scanners. Rex, however, had metabolized the sedative more quickly than anticipated and was now fully conscious in his reinforced holding cell. The Malinois sat alert, ears forward, intelligent eyes tracking every movement of the Kravix scientist who studied him from behind transparent barriers. Unlike many animals might, he displayed no panic, no frantic attempts to escape, only watchful patience that the lead researcher found increasingly unnerving. The larger specimen displays unusual cognitive awareness, noted Chief Researcher Zilks as he recorded his observations. Despite being removed from its handler and familiar environment, it shows no signs of stress-induced behavioral deterioration. His assistant, a younger Kravix with smaller mandibles, manipulated the scanner controls. Preliminary DNA analysis shows extensive modifications compared to their ancestral species. The changes appear deliberate, occurring over thousands of generations. Targeted genetic engineering, Zilks concluded, precisely as Commissioner Thorka suspected. These creatures have been shaped to serve as weapons, their intelligence calibrated, their loyalty programmed, their physical capabilities enhanced. But the humans claim this was achieved through selective breeding, not direct genetic manipulation, the assistant noted. Zilks clicked his mandibles dismissively. A semantic distinction. The result is the same, a biological weapon disguised as a companion species. Most concerning is the psychological bond they form with their handlers. Our scans show elevated levels of oxytocin and other neurochemicals associated with social bonding. You believe the bond is artificially induced. I believe it is the most insidious aspect of the weapon design, Zilks replied, studying Rex with his 4 eyes. Create a lethal predator that forms unbreakable emotional attachments to its controller. It will follow commands without question, fight to the death without hesitation, all while believing it acts out of love. He pronounced the final word with evident distaste. Rex continued to watch them, his ears occasionally twitching at sounds beyond human hearing range. When a distant alarm briefly sounded elsewhere in the facility, his posture subtly shifted, more alert, more focused. Increase security on the containment units, Zilks instructed. I want full molecular scans of both specimens. If we can isolate the genetic sequences responsible for their behavioral conditioning, perhaps we can develop countermeasures. As the researchers busied themselves with their analysis, Rex remained motionless except for his eyes, which tracked every movement with calculating intelligence. In his mind, patterns were forming, the timing of guard rotations, the operational sounds of the ship, the location of his fellow captive. Unlike his captors realized, he wasn't simply waiting. He was planning. Gabriel's small rescue team had tracked the Kravix vessel to a research outpost orbiting an uninhabited moon in a nearby star system. The facility's existence wasn't officially acknowledged in Galactic Council records, a black site for research that couldn't withstand public scrutiny. We've located the facility, the Meridian pilot, Talivar, announced as their ship maintained position behind the moon's far side, shielded from the outpost sensors. Standard Kravix design, 3 docking rings, central research hub, minimal defensive capabilities. They're not expecting visitors. Elena studied the scans, her diplomatic training helping her identify weaknesses in the station's security protocols. They're running on a standard research configuration, not military. There's a maintenance access port on the lower ring that should bypass their primary security. Grid. Gabriel checked his equipment. A standard-issue kinetic pistol, non-lethal stun grenades, and a portable biotracer calibrated to Rex's specific genetic signature. How close can you get us without triggering their sensors? Close enough, Talivar replied with the confidence typical of his species. Their detection grid has a cyclic variance of approximately 12 seconds. We can approach during the reset window and deploy before they register our presence. The Luxari technician, whose crystalline form sparkled with internal lights that indicated intense concentration, interfaced directly with the ship's systems. I have accessed their communication protocols. I can generate a false alert in their southern quadrant to draw attention away from your insertion point. Gabriel nodded grimly. Let's move. Every minute those dogs spend in there is a minute too long. Their approach was textbook perfect, slipping into the facility through the maintenance port during a security cycle reset, with the Luxury's distraction drawing most of the outpost security personnel to the opposite section. Gabriel led the way, the biotracer in his hand, pulsing more rapidly as they moved deeper into the research wing. We're getting close, he whispered to Elena, who followed with her own weapon ready. 2 levels down, eastern quadrant. They encountered minimal resistance. A lone Kravix technician who Elena swiftly incapacitated with a neural disruptor and an automated security drone that the Luxari hacked and reprogrammed to continue its patrol without reporting their presence. Finally, they reached a sealed laboratory door marked with Kravix biosecurity warnings. The biotracer in Gabriel's hand pulsed steadily now, confirming Rex's presence beyond. Can you get us in? Gabriel asked the Luxari, who examined the security panel with facets of their crystalline form glowing analytically. Yes, but it will trigger alerts. We will have approximately 3 minutes before security protocols lock down the entire section. Gabriel nodded. Do it. As the Luxari interfaced with the security system, Elena readied a stun grenade. Remember, non-lethal force only. This is a rescue mission, not a military operation. Tell that to the Kraviks who kidnapped my dogs, Gabriel muttered, but he adjusted his weapon to its lowest setting nonetheless. The laboratory door hissed open, revealing a sterile research facility where several Kravik scientists worked at various stations. In the center of the room, 2 reinforced containment units housed the captured dogs. Daisy, the beagle, appeared sedated, but Rex was fully alert, his attention snapping immediately to Gabriel as the door opened. For a moment, surprise froze everyone in place. Then chaos erupted. The Kravik's researchers reached for alarm controls while Gabriel and Elena moved forward, stun weapons discharging with precise efficiency. The Luxari technician immediately began working on the containment field controls, crystal appendages interfacing with the alien technology. Gabriel. Rex recognized his handler instantly, his posture shifting from patient observation to alert readiness. A short bark, not of fear but acknowledgement, echoed through the laboratory. Chief Researcher Zilks, recovering from initial shock, activated an emergency protocol that sealed additional doors around the laboratory. Security breach. Intruders in primary research bay. Gabriel ignored him, moving directly to Rex's containment unit as the Luxari deactivated its force field. The moment the barrier fell, Rex bounded to Gabriel's side, positioning himself protectively between his handler and the Kravik's researchers. "Easy, boy," Gabriel soothed, running a hand along Rex's back to check for injuries. Finding none, he moved to Daisy's unit, where the beagle was beginning to stir from her sedated state. Elena kept her weapon trained on the research team. Nobody moves. This constitutes an illegal seizure of coalition property and sentient companions. We're simply retrieving what belongs to us. Zilks's mandibles clicked furiously. These specimens are biological weapons being developed by humans. The Council must be informed of their true nature. Gabriel lifted Daisy carefully, cradling the groggy beagle against his chest while Rex remained vigilant at his side. "They're not weapons, you idiot. They're friends. Family. Something you apparently can't understand. We have 90 seconds before security overrides the lockout," the Luxari warned, their crystalline form pulsing with urgency. "Then let's go," Gabriel said, starting toward the door with Rex at his heel and Daisy in his arms. But Zilks wasn't finished. The chief researcher lunged for a control panel, activating the lab's emergency containment protocol. Heavy barriers began descending from the ceiling, threatening to trap them all inside. Rex reacted before anyone else could, launching himself at Zilks with a speed that left the Kraviks. Researcher, no time to defend himself. Rather than attacking, however, the Malinois simply knocked Zilks away from the controls, using his body weight to topple the alien without inflicting injury. "Rex, heel," Gabriel commanded, and the dog immediately disengaged, returning to his handler's side as the team rushed through the narrowing gap beneath the descending barrier. Their extraction proceeded with military precision, retracing their entry route while avoiding the security teams now converging on the laboratory. When cornered in a service corridor by 3 armed Kraviks guards, it was Rex who found an alternative path, leading them through a maintenance shaft his keen nose had detected. Finally reaching their ship, they disengaged from the outpost amid a flurry of warning shots that fell harmlessly against their shields. With Talavar's exceptional piloting, they vanished into the darkness of space before pursuit could be organized, plotting a circuitous route back to Earth, to obscure their trail. In the ship's small medical bay, Gabriel carefully examined both dogs for signs of experimentation or harm. Apart from lingering sedative effects in Daisy's system, both appeared physically unharmed. "They're okay," he reported to Elena with palpable relief. Rex sat beside him, occasionally licking Gabriel's hand as if to offer his own reassurance. Elena nodded, but her expression remained grave. "This isn't over, Gabe. We've just escalated a diplomatic situation into a potential military conflict. The Kraviks won't take this lightly. They started it," Gabriel replied simply, scratching behind Rex's ears. "They took my dogs. And now we know why, Elena said, reviewing data the Luxari had extracted from the research facility's computers. They genuinely believe dogs are bioweapons. Their analysis characterized the human-canine bond as a sophisticated control mechanism, a way to ensure the weapons remain loyal to their handlers. Gabriel shook his head in disbelief. That's completely backward. We don't control them through some sinister manipulation. We earn their trust, and they give their loyalty freely. You know that. I know that. But to a species that evolved from hive-minded insectoids with no concept of individual companionship. Elena let the thought trail off as she continued scrolling through the data. This is worse than I thought. The Kraviks have submitted a formal request to the Council to classify all canines as restricted biological weapon systems. They're demanding immediate containment of all dogs within Coalition space. Containment? Gabriel's voice hardened. What exactly does that mean? Elena met his gaze directly. Confiscation and euthanasia. The word hung in the air like a physical threat. Rex, sensing the tension, pressed closer to Gabriel's side. That's not happening, Gabriel stated flatly, one hand dropping protectively to Rex's head. Not to my dogs. Not to anyone's dogs. The Council is convening an emergency session in 48 hours, Elena continued. Ambassador Washington has requested our presence as expert witnesses on canine behavior and the human-canine relationship. Gabriel looked down at Rex, whose intelligent eyes watched him with complete trust, then to Daisy, now sleeping peacefully after her ordeal. Then we'll make them understand. Somehow, back on Earth, too. News of the Kravik's raid and the rescue mission spread quickly through human settlements. The reaction was immediate and unified. Humans throughout the colony mobilized to protect their canine companions. Security around residential areas was enhanced, and many families with dogs relocated to central zones where protection could be more easily coordinated. Meanwhile, aboard the Galactic Council's orbital station, an extraordinary session was being hastily arranged. Representatives from 23 spacefaring civilizations would attend, with the Kravik's human dispute taking center stage. Behind the scenes, political alliances shifted as various species took sides in what was quickly becoming the most significant interspecies conflict since humanity joined the galactic community. Commissioner Thorka arrived first, his massive warship taking position near the Council station in a clear display of Kravik's military presence. In his quarters, he received Chief Researcher Zilx's report with growing agitation. The humans extracted both specimens? Thorka's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme displeasure. Yes, Commissioner, Zilx confirmed, his posture submissive. A small team bypassed our security. They appeared specifically trained for this operation. And the data? What did your analysis reveal before this? Interruption? Enough to confirm our suspicions. Zilx responded, straightening slightly. These dogs have been genetically modified over thousands of generations to form powerful neurochemical bonds with humans. They possess combat capabilities far beyond what any mere companion would require. Most concerning, they can be activated with simple vocal commands. Thorka's upper eyes narrowed. Then we proceed as planned. The Council must recognize this threat and authorize immediate containment measures. If humans refuse to surrender these biological weapons voluntarily, we must be prepared to enforce compliance. There is resistance forming among some Council members, Zilx cautioned. The Luxari representative has expressed concerns about our interpretation, and several Alliance species are reluctant to provoke humanity over what they view as a cultural misunderstanding. Cultural misunderstanding. Thorka's voice rose sharply. Were our researchers not attacked? Was our facility not invaded? These actions only confirm humanity's aggressive intentions. He turned to his communications officer. Contact our allies among the Council. Remind them of humanity's rapid expansion, their technological adaptability, their historical propensity for warfare. These dogs are merely the first stage of a biological weapons program that threatens galactic stability. As Thorka solidified his political position, Earth's diplomatic vessel arrived at the Council station. Ambassador Washington disembarked first, followed by her staff, with Elena and Gabriel among the last to step aboard the neutral territory of the council station. Gabriel had insisted on bringing Rex, a decision that caused considerable controversy, but which Ambassador Washington eventually supported as necessary to demonstrate the true nature of the human-canine bond. The moment they entered the council's diplomatic reception area, reactions were immediate and varied. Several alien representatives stepped back warily, while others leaned forward with evident scientific curiosity. The Zerani science director, Meryl, approached cautiously, her scales shifting through patterns of academic interest. "Remarkable," she commented, observing how Rex remained calmly at Gabriel's side, despite the unfamiliar environment and strange beings surrounding them. No restraints, no control devices, yet maintains perfect positioning relative to its handler. Gabriel corrected firmly. "Rex is a he, not an it. And he stays by my side because he wants to, not because he's controlled." Meryl's scales flickered in what might have been embarrassment. "Forgive me. The concept of voluntary cooperation from a predator species is unusual in our experience." Before further conversation could develop, a delegation of Kravix officials entered the reception area. Commissioner Thorka led them, his imposing height and ornate exoskeleton marking him as a high-ranking authority. The moment he spotted Rex, he halted abruptly. "This is an outrage." Thorka's voice boomed across the chamber. "You bring a biological weapon into a diplomatic sanctuary?" Ambassador Washington stepped forward smoothly. "Commissioner Thorka, this is a domesticated canine companion, present to demonstrate the true nature of the human-canine relationship that you have so profoundly misunderstood." "Misunderstood?" Thorka's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Your operatives attacked a research facility and stole specimens under scientific examination. After your operatives illegally abducted 2 sentient companions from coalition territory, Washington countered evenly, an action that constitutes a direct violation of the Accords of Peaceful Coexistence." As the diplomatic confrontation escalated, Rex remained perfectly calm at Gabriel's side, his behavior silent but powerful contradiction to the Kravix allegations. Several council representatives observed this with evident interest, particularly when Gabriel occasionally stroked Rex's head and the dog responded with obvious contentment. The formal council session that followed was unprecedented in its tension. The Grand Council chamber, designed to accommodate representatives of all member species, hummed with multilingual discussions as the case was presented. Ambassador Washington spoke first, outlining humanity's historical relationship with dogs and emphasizing their status as companion species, not weapons. Commissioner Thorka followed, presenting evidence from Zilx's research, genetic analyses suggesting deliberate modification, training scenarios showing military capabilities, and security footage from the compound infiltration that highlighted the dog's combat potential. These creatures, Thorka concluded, gesturing toward Rex, who sat quietly beside Gabriel in the witness area, possess the sensory capabilities of our most advanced detection systems, the combat effectiveness of trained warriors, and absolute loyalty to their human handlers. By any reasonable definition, they are weaponized biological entities and must be classified as such under council regulations. The council chamber erupted in concerned discussions, with various representatives conferring among themselves. High Councilor Vrixov, the Luxari eventually restored order, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that commanded attention. "We will hear from human experts who work directly with these canines," Vrix announced. "Perhaps they can address these serious concerns." Elena spoke first, her diplomatic training evident as she systematically addressed each Kravix allegation with historical context and scientific accuracy. She explained the process of domestication, the coevolution of humans and dogs over 15 millennia, and the various roles dogs have played throughout human history: companions, workers, protectors, and friends. When Gabriel's turn came, he opted for a more direct approach. With permission from the council, he called Rex to the center of the chamber. "What you're seeing is not a weapon," Gabriel stated, looking directly at the assembled representatives. This is a Belgian Malinois named Rex. He's 7 years old. He enjoys playing with tennis balls, swimming in lakes, and yes, sleeping on my bed. He's intelligent, loyal, and capable of remarkable feats, but not because we engineered him as a weapon. Gabriel turned to Rex. Rex, sit. The dog sat immediately. Rex, down. Rex lay down, eyes still alert and focused on Gabriel. Rex, speak. A single sharp bark echoed through the council chamber, causing several representatives to flinch. These are not activation codes for a weapon, Gabriel explained. They're communications between partners who trust each other. Rex follows these commands because we've built a relationship based on mutual respect and care. To demonstrate further, Gabriel had Rex perform several more complex behaviors, retrieving specific objects, navigating around obstacles, even responding to hand signals without verbal commands. Throughout the demonstration, Rex's tail wagged occasionally. His body language relaxed despite the alien environment. When they finished, Gabriel addressed the council directly. The Kraviks believe we control dogs through some kind of manipulation or force. The truth is exactly the opposite. Dogs choose to work with us because of how we treat them. The relationship is built on trust, something that can't be programmed or engineered. Commissioner Thorka rose again, his mandibles clicking irritably. Impressive theater, but it does not address the fundamental concern. Whether through trust or neural programming, the result is the same. Creatures with lethal capabilities completely loyal to human controllers. Before Gabriel could respond, an unexpected voice joined the debate. If I may address the council? All attention turned to a Kraviks officer who had risen from the delegation's seating area. Gabriel recognized him as one of the security personnel from the research facility, the one Rex had knocked aside rather than attacked during their escape. Security Officer Varric. Thorka acknowledged, his tone suspicious. You have relevant testimony? I do, Commissioner. Varric stepped forward, his posture respectful but determined. During the extraction incident at the research facility, I directly engaged with one of these canines. Based on my combat training and the creature's evident capabilities, it could have inflicted severe, likely fatal injuries. Instead, it merely incapacitated me momentarily, using minimal force. A murmur rippled through the council chamber. This behavior is inconsistent with a weapon designed for combat, Vera continued. A true weapon would not show restraint when activated. It would neutralize threats with maximum efficiency. Thorka's upper eyes narrowed dangerously. You overreach your authority, security officer. With respect, Commissioner, I report what I observed directly. Varric stood firm. The canine's behavior demonstrated judgment and restraint incompatible with our definition of biological weaponry. The testimony created a palpable shift in the chamber's atmosphere. Several previously neutral representatives began conferring with renewed interest, while the Zerani delegation scales collectively shifted toward colors associated with reconsideration. High Counselor Vrix called for order. This testimony raises important questions about our understanding of these creatures. Perhaps we have been too hasty in our classification. The debate continued for hours, with experts from multiple species offering perspectives. Medical specialists noted the documented health benefits humans derived from canine companionship. Xenobiologists discussed the evolutionary advantages of cross-species cooperation. Military analysts debated the tactical applications of canine capabilities in both defensive and offensive scenarios. Throughout it all, Rex remained a calm, living contradiction to the Kravik's portrayal. Alert but peaceful, powerful but controlled, responsive to Gabriel without any visible technology or coercion. Finally, after extensive deliberation, High Counselor Vrix called for a formal vote on the classification of canines within coalition space. The outcome was narrower than comfortable, but clear. Dogs would not be classified as biological weapons. Instead, they would receive a new designation, domesticated partner species, acknowledging both their capabilities and their special relationship with humanity. Commissioner Thorka received the decision with rigid formality, his 4 eyes betraying no emotion as he led the Kravik's delegation from the chamber. His silence concerned Gabriel more than any protest might have. The commissioner did not strike him as someone who accepted defeat gracefully. Those concerns proved well-founded. Less than 12 hours after the Council's decision, long-range sensors detected a Kravix battle group entering the Earth-2 system. 3 warships, including Thorka's flagship Inevitable Justice, assumed orbit around the colony, their weapons systems running active targeting protocols that stopped just short of direct hostile action. Emergency alerts sounded throughout the settlement as Gabriel and Elena rushed to the colony's Defense Coordination Center. Ambassador Washington was already there, conferring urgently with military advisors as tactical displays showed the Kravix vessel's positions. "What's happening?" Gabriel demanded, Rex at his heel. The dog sensed the tension, his posture alert but controlled. "Commissioner Thorka has decided to appeal the Council's decision through more direct means," Washington replied grimly. "He's enacted a precautionary quarantine of Earth-2, citing obscure regulatory powers granted to regional authorities during potential biological hazard situations." Elena studied the tactical display with professional concern. "Those ships aren't positioned for quarantine. They're in standard assault formation." "Precisely," Washington agreed. "The Council has demanded he stand down, but he's claiming communication delays and proceeding with his operation." A communications officer interrupted. "Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from the Kravix flagship." The main screen activated, revealing Commissioner Thorka's imposing figure on the bridge of his warship. "People of Earth Colony 2, Thorka began without preamble. The Kravix hegemony has determined that the presence of biological weapons designate canines on your settlement represents an unacceptable security risk to this sector. You are hereby ordered to surrender all such organisms for proper containment and disposal. You have 6 hours to comply before we implement containment protocols directly." The transmission ended before Washington could respond. "He's going to bombard the colony," Gabriel realized, one hand dropping instinctively to Rex's head. "He's actually going to attack a coalition settlement over dogs." "Not if we can convince him otherwise," Washington replied, though her expression betrayed limited confidence. "We're requesting emergency intervention from coalition forces, but the nearest response fleet is 2 days out at maximum speed. We can't evacuate everyone in 6 hours," Elena noted, reviewing the colony's emergency protocols. "Even if we focus solely on humans and left the dogs." "That's not happening," Gabriel interrupted firmly. "We're not abandoning them." Washington nodded agreement. "No, we're not. But we need options beyond military response, which we can't deliver in time." For several tense hours, diplomatic channels remained active as Washington attempted to negotiate with Thorka. Council representatives issued formal condemnations and threats of sanctions. None appeared to sway the commissioner, whose ships maintained their threatening posture as the deadline approached. With less than 2 hours remaining, Gabriel approached Washington with an unexpected proposal. "Let me speak with him," he said, directly, face to face. Washington frowned. "Thorka has rejected all requests for direct communication." "Not through official channels," Gabriel explained. "I'm proposing to take a small shuttle directly to his flagship, with Elena as diplomatic escort and Rex as evidence," Elena finished, catching on to his thinking. "You want to confront Thorka's fear directly." "It's the one thing we haven't tried," Gabriel argued. "All these diplomatic messages and official threats, they just reinforce his position. He needs to see the truth himself, not filtered through reports and analyses." Washington considered the proposal with evident concern. "It's reckless, potentially suicidal, and completely outside diplomatic protocol." She paused, then nodded decisively. "Which is precisely why it might work. The Kravix respect directness, even when they disagree with the message." Arrangements were hastily made. A small diplomatic shuttle was prepared, its identification transponders modified to request direct audience with the Kravix flagship using ancient but still recognized protocols for parley during conflict. Gabriel, Elena, and Rex boarded with minimal equipment. This mission would succeed or fail based on words and actions, not technology. To everyone's surprise, the Kravix vessel granted them approach clearance. Perhaps Thorka was curious about this unconventional tactic, or perhaps he simply wished to observe his opponents directly before proceeding with his plans. Whatever the reason, the small shuttle was permitted to dock with the massive warship. Kravix security personnel, heavily armed and clearly wary, escorted them to the ship's command deck where Commissioner Thorka waited, surrounded by his senior officers. His mandibles clicked in what Gabriel had learned to recognize as surprise when he saw Rex walking freely beside his handler. "You bring the weapon directly into our command center?" Thorka's voice carried tones of both outrage and disbelief. "Your species' audacity continues to astonish." Gabriel met the commissioner's four-eyed gaze steadily. "That's why we're here, Commissioner, to show you that your fear is misplaced." Fear. Thorka's massive form straightened indignantly. "The Kravix do not fear your biological weapons. We seek to eliminate a threat to galactic security. And yet," Elena interjected diplomatically, "you're standing less than 3 meters from a lethal biological weapon with no barriers or restraints, and you remain perfectly safe." Thorka's upper eyes narrowed, while his lower pair focused on Rex, who sat calmly at Gabriel's side. Safety is relative when dealing with programmed organisms. It awaits activation. Gabriel shook his head. "That's the fundamental misunderstanding, Commissioner. Rex isn't programmed, and he doesn't need activation. He's a thinking being who makes choices based on how he's treated and what he's learned." A convenient claim, Thorka dismissed. One that cannot be verified. "Actually, it can," Gabriel countered. He reached slowly into his pocket, extracting a small rubber ball, Rex's favorite training reward. "Rex, sit." The dog, already sitting, remained in position, ears perked attentively. "This is Rex's favorite toy," Gabriel explained, showing the ball to Thorka. "Nothing in the world matters more to him when he's in play mode." He looked at the dog. "Rex, ready?" The Malinois immediately shifted posture, eyes locked on the ball, tail beginning to wag with anticipation. Instead of throwing the ball to Rex, however, Gabriel did something unexpected. He offered it to Thorka. "Take it," Gabriel suggested. "Hold it out to him." Thorka's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. "You expect me to interact with your weapon?" "I expect you to test your theory," Gabriel challenged. "If Rex is just a programmed weapon waiting for activation, then he should show no interest in receiving a toy from someone other than his handler. If, however, he's a thinking being capable of making his own decisions about who to trust." He let the implication hang in the air between them. Around the command deck, Kravix officers watched with evident tension, several reaching subtly for their weapons. After a long moment of consideration, Thorka extended one clawed appendage and took the ball. With evident reluctance, he held it out toward Rex. "Rex, gentle," Gabriel said quietly. "Friend." The dog looked at Gabriel briefly, then back to Thorka and the offered ball. With careful movements that belied his powerful frame, Rex approached the towering Kravix, sniffed the extended appendage, and delicately took the ball from Thorka's grasp. Rather than retreating, he remained near the commissioner, tail wagging as he enjoyed his prize. Throughout the command deck, Kravix officers watched in evident amazement as their fearsome leader stood mere centimeters from what they had been told was a deadly biological weapon, which was now contentedly chewing a rubber ball at his feet. "He could have taken your hand off with that bite," Gabriel observed conversationally. "His jaw strength is sufficient to crush your exoskeleton. Instead, he used exactly the right pressure to take the ball without harming you. That's not programming, Commissioner. That's judgment." Thorka stared down at Rex, his four eyes blinking in what might have been reconsideration. "Perhaps. There are aspects of these creatures we have misinterpreted." "Many aspects," Elena confirmed gently. "Dogs evolve alongside humans for thousands of years, not as weapons, but as partners. Yes, they can be protective, even fierce when necessary. But that serves their primary function, being companions who share their lives with us." Something shifted in Thorka's posture, a subtle relaxation that spread gradually through the other Kravix officers on the command deck. The commissioner reached down with one clawed appendage, hesitating just above Rex's head. "May I?" he asked, the question itself representing a remarkable shift from his previous position. Gabriel nodded. "Rex, friend," he said again, the simple phrase carrying meaning beyond its words. With extraordinary care for one whose species was known for battlefield ferocity, Thorka touched Rex's head. The dog looked up, tail still wagging, entirely comfortable with the contact. A sound emerged from Thorka that Gabriel couldn't immediately identify, a rhythmic clicking that seemed to vibrate through the Kravix's exoskeleton. With a start, he realized the commissioner was laughing. 15,000 years of shared evolution, Thorka mused, withdrawing his appendage. While my species was still fighting territorial wars, yours was learning to make allies of predators. He straightened, addressing his officers. "Stand down the battle group. Inform the council that our precautionary measures are no longer necessary." The tension on the command deck dissolved into activity as orders were relayed and tactical systems deactivated. Thorka turned back to Gabriel and Elena. "It seems we have much to learn from humanity," the commissioner acknowledged, his mandibles arranged in what Gabriel was beginning to recognize as a diplomatic posture. "Perhaps beginning with how you achieved this remarkable partnership." 2 days later, when the coalition response fleet arrived, expecting a potential combat situation, they found instead an unprecedented scene. Kravix and human diplomatic vessels in joint orbit, with representatives from both species engaged in cultural exchange programs. Most surprising of all, several Kravix officers were cautiously interacting with dogs brought up from the colony, learning the basics of canine behavior under Gabriel's patient guidance. The story spread quickly throughout coalition space. The incident at Earth 2, as it became known, marked a turning point in interspecies relations. Other civilizations, initially wary of humanity's canine companions, began expressing cautious interest in understanding the unique bond between the species. 6 months later, Gabriel found himself in the surprising position of establishing the coalition's first interspecies canine education center, with students from a dozen different species learning about dog behavior, training, and care. Elena, now promoted to senior diplomatic liaison, coordinated with council representatives to develop protocols for introducing dogs to other worlds. Even Commissioner Thorka made an unexpected contribution. Upon returning to the Kravix homeworld, he published a comprehensive analysis of canine-human relationships that challenged his species' traditional views on interspecies cooperation. The document, widely circulated throughout coalition space, included a personal observation that many found both surprising and profound. In seeking to understand what we perceived as humanity's deadliest weapon, we instead discovered perhaps their greatest achievement: turning natural predators into loyal friends through patience, kindness, and mutual respect. There may be no greater testament to humanity's potential as galactic partners than the fact that the most lethal hunters on their world choose to sleep beside them, not out of fear or programming, but out of love. On a quiet evening in the education center's main courtyard, Gabriel sat on a bench watching the sunset over Earth 2's northern mountains. Rex dozed contentedly at his feet, occasionally twitching in his sleep as he chased dream rabbits. Nearby, Elena reviewed curriculum proposals for the center's expanding programs. "Did you see today's new arrival?" Elena asked, setting her work aside. Gabriel nodded, smiling. Hard to miss a Kravix ambassador bringing his personal security detail to learn dog handling. 6 months ago, they wanted to eradicate all dogs from coalition space, Elena marveled. Now, they're signing up for the waiting list to participate in the companion placement program. Gabriel reached down to stroke Rex's fur. The dog signed contentedly without waking. Fear of the unknown is universal, I guess. Once they understood, everything changed. Not everything, Elena corrected gently. The Zerani still can't quite understand why we let them sleep on our beds. Gabriel laughed. Give them time. I saw Ambassador Velshur cooing at that corgi puppy yesterday. The Luxari delegation has already submitted formal requests to develop their own domestic breeding program. Who would have thought? Elena mused. Galactic diplomacy saved by wagging tails and wet noses. As if hearing himself discussed, Rex opened one eye, thumped his tail twice against the ground, then returned to his dreams of chasing balls and protecting his human. Simple dreams for a creature once feared as the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. In the distance, a Kravix officer tentatively offered a treat to a golden retriever puppy, his four eyes widening with something like wonder as the dog gently accepted the offering. Around them, representatives from worlds spanning thousands of light years gathered to learn what humanity had discovered millennia ago. That sometimes the most powerful alliance isn't forged through technology or treaties, but through trust, companionship, and a willingness to see potential friends where others might see only danger.